What if everything we thought we knew about human history was only half the story? When we imagine the Amazon rainforest, we picture an endless sea of green, a wild, untouched Eden filled with snakes, jaguars, and ancient trees. But beneath that tangled canopy, hidden for centuries, lies something far more mysterious: the remains of forgotten civilizations. For generations, scientists believed the Amazon was too hostile, too infertile, too chaotic for great societies to ever rise. The jungle, they said, was a green desert, lush on the surface but barren beneath the soil, incapable of supporting large human populations. At best, only scattered hunter-gatherers and small tribes could have survived here. That was the accepted truth. And yet, the Earth has begun to whisper a different story. In recent decades, archaeologists have uncovered vast networks of ancient ruins buried under the jungle. Enormous geometric earthworks, strange raised fields, elaborate roads, and long-forgotten ceremonial centers, all carved into the land by human hands. These are not the traces of a few scattered tribes. They are the fingerprints of entire civilizations, organized, creative, and advanced, thriving where we once thought none could exist. Satellite technology has peeled back the jungle's green veil. LiDAR scanning, capable of mapping the land even through dense forest, has revealed enormous geometric patterns across thousands of square kilometers. Circles, squares, grids, and even what appear to be planned cities. The sheer scale suggests that before the arrival of Europeans, the Amazon may have been home to millions of people. Entire cultures may have risen and fallen here, leaving behind only faint scars in the earth, now swallowed by vines and silence. But here's the question that keeps archaeologists awake at night. Who were these people? Were they just forgotten tribes who adapted brilliantly to the rainforest? Or something more? Could the Amazon hide the story of a lost civilization, one that challenges our timeline of human evolution and forces us to rethink what prehistoric humans were truly capable of? Imagine it. While the pyramids were rising in Egypt, while Neanderthals were vanishing in Europe, while Ice Age hunters still roamed the north, here in the heart of South America, entire societies may have been shaping the jungle itself, transforming it into a living garden city, a partnership between human ingenuity and nature. This isn't just about the past. If these discoveries are true, they rewrite our understanding of humanity's resilience and creativity. They suggest that we, as a species, have always been far more adaptable than we give ourselves credit for. And they raise haunting questions. How many civilizations have risen and fallen without leaving a trace? What lessons about survival, collapse, and renewal are hidden in the ruins of the Amazon? Tonight, we will journey into the heart of the jungle. We'll walk among the ghostly outlines of forgotten cities, trace the mysterious earthworks revealed by modern science, and confront the possibility that human history is far older and far stranger than we dared to believe. Welcome to the lost civilizations of the Amazon.
To understand the magnitude of the discoveries in the Amazon, we first need to step back and see how archaeology has long viewed this immense rainforest. For centuries, the dominant belief was shaped by early European explorers. When conquistadors and missionaries ventured into the Amazon in the 16th century, they described vast villages, monumental roads, and agricultural abundance. Yet as time passed and the forest reclaimed the land, later travelers saw only scattered, small-scale tribes. By the 19th and 20th centuries, the academic consensus was clear. Those earlier tales were nothing more than exaggerations or misunderstandings. The Amazon, they insisted, was a place incapable of nurturing complex societies. Why? The reasoning was rooted in ecology. Amazonian soils are notoriously poor, washed clean by millennia of rainfall. Unlike the Nile, the Tigris-Euphrates, or the Indus River valleys, fertile cradles of ancient civilizations, the Amazon seems sterile beneath its lush canopy. Archaeologists argue that the soil could not support intensive agriculture, and without stable food surpluses, large populations could never flourish. Human life in the jungle, they believed, was doomed to remain small, scattered, and marginal. But then, the Earth itself began to resist that narrative. In the 20th century, researchers started noticing patches of unusually rich, dark soil scattered across the basin. Known as terra preta, or black earth, these soils were unlike anything naturally occurring in the rainforest. Fertile, carbon-rich, and capable of sustaining crops for generations, they appeared to be artificially created. Archaeologists now believe prehistoric humans engineered these soils by mixing charcoal, food waste, and organic matter. In other words, Amazonian societies didn't simply adapt to poor soils, they transformed them. This discovery was a turning point. If prehistoric humans could modify their environment so drastically, what else were they capable of? The answers began to surface in the form of enormous earthworks. Starting in the 1970s and accelerating with the rise of satellite imaging, researchers uncovered geometric shapes carved into the ground, ditches, mounds, and plazas forming perfect circles, squares, and grids. Some are over 300 meters across. These are not natural formations. They are engineered landscapes, constructed with precision and purpose. One of the most famous regions is in Acre, Brazil, where hundreds of geometric geoglyphs have been revealed. They resemble the Nazca lines of Peru, but instead of being carved into desert plains, they are hidden beneath rainforest. Some appear to be ceremonial centers, others defensive structures, and still others suggest agricultural planning. Together, they paint a picture of large coordinated communities with shared cultural practices. And then came LiDAR, light detection and ranging. This revolutionary technology, mounted on planes or drones, scans the ground by shooting laser pulses through forest canopies, creating a 3D map of the terrain below. What archaeologists once had to stumble upon in clearing or farmland can now be revealed across hundreds of kilometers. In recent years, LiDAR has uncovered sprawling networks of roads, causeways, canals, and even what appear to be entire cities. In southern Amazonia, LiDAR revealed a remarkable set of sites associated with the Kasarabe culture, dating back over 1,000 years. Researchers found causeways linking settlements, pyramidal mounds, and water management systems, all intricately planned. These findings challenge the image of the Amazon as a wilderness. Instead, it looks more like a cultural mosaic, regions of dense human settlement connected by engineered landscapes surrounded by forests shaped by human hands. The implications ripple far beyond archaeology. If millions of people once lived in the Amazon, then the Amazon itself may not be a pristine wilderness after all. Instead, it could be, in part, a cultural artifact, a human-made forest, enriched by selective planting, soil engineering, and ecosystem management. Fruit and nut trees found across vast areas might not be random. They may be the legacy of ancient cultivation. In other words, the Amazon we know today is not untouched nature, but the echo of prehistoric humans living in symbiosis with it. This reframes human evolution in profound ways. We often think of great civilizations as emerging in predictable environments, river valleys, fertile plains, temperate climates. But here, in one of Earth's harshest and most complex ecosystems, prehistoric humans may have thrived in numbers rivaling other ancient centers of civilization. They were not passive survivors of a hostile land, they were active shapers of it. But of course, mysteries remain. Many of these cultures left no stone monuments, no written records, no enduring cities like those of Mesopotamia or Egypt. Their ruins are earthen, fragile, and easily swallowed by jungle. Much was lost to the passage of time, disease, and colonization. When Europeans arrived, they brought waves of epidemics, smallpox, influenza, measles, that devastated indigenous populations. Some estimates suggest up to 90% of the Amazon's inhabitants perished within decades. cities collapsed, fields lay fallow, and the forest returned with a vengeance, cloaking the ruins of once thriving societies. Today, archaeology, anthropology, and environmental science are converging on a new vision of the Amazon. It is not an untouched wilderness. It is a palimpsest, a manuscript written and rewritten by countless generations of human hands. Each earthwork, each shard of pottery, each engineered patch of black earth is a whisper from a forgotten world, urging us to rethink what prehistoric humans were capable of. The Amazon is not merely a backdrop for human history. It is a protagonist, and its ruins reveal a story of resilience, ingenuity, and collapse, a story that forces us to ask unsettling questions. How many civilizations have we lost to time? How many are still hidden beneath the canopy, waiting to be rediscovered?
Imagine standing in the Amazon 1,000 years ago. Not the endless wilderness we see today, but a landscape alive with human presence. Instead of only scattered huts, you might see wide plazas ringed by ceremonial mounds, raised roads stretching straight across swamps, and fields where crops grew in carefully engineered soil. At night, the jungle would not be silent. Fires would flicker from hilltop to hilltop, villages alive with music, ritual, and trade. This is not fantasy. Archaeology tells us that before European contact, the Amazon may have been home to populations numbering in the millions. These were not isolated, struggling groups, but thriving communities that adapted with extraordinary ingenuity to one of Earth's most complex environments. Let's picture a single settlement. In the region of Acre, Brazil, archaeologists have uncovered vast geoglyphs, geometric enclosures dug into the earth. Some are perfect circles, others immense squares, each surrounded by ditches and walls several meters high. Within them, researchers have found traces of structures and ceremonial activity. Imagine walking into such a space, a perfect circle carved from the land, aligned with the sun's movements, where entire communities might have gathered for rituals marking the seasons, births, and deaths. The air heavy with incense from burning plants, chants rising into the canopy, echoing across the landscape. Nearby, families lived in longhouses clustered along roads that linked one settlement to another. These roads were not crude trails. They were engineered causeways raised above floodwaters and marshes, running arrow straight for kilometers. The Casarabe culture in modern Bolivia left behind networks of such roads, connecting towns, plazas, and even pyramid-like mounds. Think about that. Pyramids in the Amazon, not of stone but of earth, layered and shaped by countless hands. Food, the foundation of any civilization, was no afterthought. These ancient Amazonians engineered their environment in ways we are only beginning to grasp. Through the creation of terra preta, the fertile black earth, they cultivated crops that could sustain dense populations. Researchers have found traces of manioc, maize, beans, and fruits. The rainforest itself may have been selectively planted, with useful species, Brazil nuts, cacao, palms, encouraged to thrive around settlements. The jungle, in other words, was not an obstacle, it was a partner, shaped and guided to meet human needs. Let's pause here to reflect on how remarkable this is. While Neanderthals were fading in Eurasia, while Ice Age hunters were still roaming mammoth plains in the north, people in the Amazon had already mastered ecological engineering. Their skill at transforming poor soils into fertile gardens is an achievement as profound as irrigation in Mesopotamia or terrace farming in the Andes. It suggests that prehistoric humans were not passive wanderers, they were ecological architects. And what of their spiritual life? Though no written records remain, the monumental scale of the geoglyphs suggests deep cosmological meaning. Circles, squares, and grids, shapes sacred to many cultures, appear again and again. Some researchers believe they were aligned with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, or lunar cycles. If so, these were not just meeting places,
but sacred observatories where sky and earth were brought into harmony. Now imagine a festival day. Villagers gather, walking in procession along the straight causeways. Women carry baskets of roasted manioc, men bring fish smoked from the rivers, and children wear masks carved from wood. In the central plaza, leaders speak of the ancestors, recounting myths of how their people first tamed the forest. At night, torches light the geoglyphs, their patterns glowing like constellations upon the earth, mirroring the stars above. This vivid picture is not mere speculation. Archaeology offers echoes of such life. Fragments of pottery painted with geometric designs, remnants of feasts buried in ancient soil, tools shaped from stone and bone. Each artifact is a shard of memory, hinting at stories long forgotten. Trade networks likely stretched across the region. The rivers were highways connecting distant settlements. Goods such as exotic feathers, stone tools, and perhaps even gold may have moved between groups. The Amazon was not an isolated wilderness, but part of a larger South American web of exchange. And yet, what makes these societies most remarkable is how they lived with the forest. Unlike civilizations that stripped their land bare, the Amazonians integrated themselves into the ecology. Their gardens blended into wild landscapes, their settlements surrounded by orchards that seemed natural but were carefully curated. They practiced what modern ecologists call agroforestry, a partnership of agriculture and forest management. In some ways, they were centuries ahead of us in sustainable living. But every civilization carries within it the seeds of fragility. These Amazonian cultures were no exception. Their reliance on fragile systems of ecology, their exposure to outside threats, and the sheer volatility of jungle life meant they walked a delicate balance. And when Europeans arrived in the 1500s, that balance shattered. Disease tore through populations that had no immunity. Within a century, villages emptied, fields were abandoned, and the forest crept back over plazas and pyramids. What had once been bustling centers of human life dissolved into silence, leaving only ghostly earthworks for archaeologists to rediscover centuries later. Here lies one of the great ironies of history. The very success of these civilizations, living in harmony with the forest, ensured that when they vanished, they left little behind. Stone crumbles slowly, but earth and wood vanish quickly beneath vines. To outsiders, it looked as though no one had ever lived here. And so, for centuries, the myth of an untouched Amazon persisted. Now, with each LiDAR scan and excavation, we begin to see the truth. The Amazon was not empty. It was alive with human creativity, ingenuity, and resilience. These were lost civilizations that challenge the boundaries of archaeology and force us to rethink human evolution. They remind us that prehistoric humans were not only hunters or gatherers, but architects of ecosystems, builders of sacred spaces, and dreamers of cosmic patterns. And yet, this is only the beginning. Because for every geoglyph revealed, for every mound uncovered, thousands more may lie hidden. Entire cultures may still be cloaked by green silence, their stories waiting to be told. And with each discovery, new debates emerge. How advanced were these societies really? Were they centralized states or loose federations? Did they collapse before Europeans arrived or only after? In the next part, we'll explore these debates. We'll dive into the controversies, the competing visions of Amazonian prehistory, and the haunting possibility that the ruins reveal not just forgotten cultures, but something even more enigmatic about the rise and fall of human civilizations.
The ruins of the Amazon raise as many questions as they answer. For every geoglyph mapped, every mound excavated, a debate ignites among archaeologists and historians. The central question is deceptively simple. What kind of societies built these structures? Were these centralized civilizations comparable to the Maya, or were they vast networks of interconnected villages with shared traditions but little hierarchy? Let's begin with the scale of the evidence. LiDAR surveys across southern Amazonia have revealed networks of roads, causeways, and settlement clusters stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Some researchers argue that only a strong, centralized political system could organize labor on such a massive scale. To carve ditches hundreds of meters long, to align roads with precision, to maintain fertile fields, this requires leadership, planning, and coordinated vision. From this perspective, the Kasarabe culture and others like it may represent lost states, with rulers, elites, and priesthoods overseeing their people. But not everyone agrees. Other archaeologists argue that the very nature of the Amazon, with its shifting rivers and fragile soils, would make centralized states difficult to sustain. Instead, they see the ruins as evidence of garden cities, decentralized communities bound together not by kings and armies, but by shared cosmologies and ecological practices. According to this view, the earthworks were communal projects built for ritual and identity rather than imperial control. The geoglyphs, then, were not the monuments of empires, but the fingerprints of cooperative, egalitarian societies. Both interpretations are compelling, and both highlight the Amazon's unique place in human history. Unlike the towering stone pyramids of Egypt or the enduring ruins of Rome, Amazonian civilizations worked with perishable materials: earth, wood, living forest. Their legacy is subtler, harder to measure, and easier to erase. That fragility fuels the debates. What we see today may be only a fraction of what once existed. Another mystery lies in their disappearance. Did these societies collapse before Europeans arrived, or were they thriving until the devastating impact of colonization? Some scholars suggest that environmental pressures, flood cycles, droughts, or ecological exhaustion may have strained Amazonian societies. Others argue that they were still strong when Europeans entered the region, only to be annihilated by diseases like smallpox, measles, and influenza, which swept ahead of direct contact. Imagine this scenario. In the early 1500s, the Amazon was alive with millions of people, trading, farming, and building. Within a generation, invisible waves of disease raced downriver, killing 70 to 90% of the population. Survivors abandoned their towns, and within decades, the jungle reclaimed the land. By the time later European explorers arrived, the vibrant civilizations described by conquistadors had already vanished. To the eyes of those later explorers, the stories of vast cities seemed like myths, but in truth, they were memories of a world extinguished almost overnight. The debate is not only academic, it reshapes how we understand human evolution. For centuries, history textbooks told a simple story. Great civilizations emerged only in fertile environments, river valleys with rich soils, temperate climates, or accessible resources. The Amazon defies that model. Here, in one of the most challenging ecosystems on Earth, prehistoric humans flourished. They engineered soils, cultivated forests, and designed monumental earthworks, all without the aid of metal tools, wheels, or written language. This leads us to an even bigger question. Why do some civilizations endure in stone while others vanish almost without a trace? Consider this. The Inca left roads and fortresses across the Andes. The Maya left pyramids in the jungle. The Egyptians left tombs of stone. But the people of the Amazon built with earth and living trees. Their genius was not to defy nature, but to integrate with it. And in the long run, this very integration made them invisible to history. Some scholars go further, asking whether the Amazon might preserve memories of even older, deeper mysteries. Indigenous oral traditions sometimes speak of ancestral builders who raised great earthworks long before the current tribes inhabited the land. Could these be echoes of cultures far older than we realize? Is it possible that traces of civilization in the Amazon date back thousands of years earlier than current evidence suggests, perhaps as far back as the Ice Age? Such ideas remain speculative, but they capture the imagination, reminding us how little we truly know. And what about connections to other lost civilizations? Some researchers point to similarities between Amazonian geoglyphs and sacred geometry found elsewhere in the world. Circles, squares, grids, patterns that appear in cultures separated by oceans. Are these coincidences or signs of a shared human impulse to inscribe cosmic order on the Earth? We cannot yet say, but the echoes are tantalizing. Even more controversial are claims that the Amazon might have once supported population densities rivaling medieval Europe. If true, then the rainforest is not just a backdrop to human history, it is one of humanity's great cradles, equal in significance to Mesopotamia or the Nile. This idea, once dismissed as fantasy, is now being taken seriously as LiDAR sites and soil analysis continue to reveal just how widespread human modification of the forest was. Yet, not all agree. Some archaeologists remain cautious, warning against romanticizing or overestimating these societies. They point out that evidence for monumental architecture, written records, or long-lasting state systems is thin compared to Old World civilizations. From their perspective, Amazonian cultures were remarkable, but not lost empires. They were complex chiefdoms, remarkable for their ecological engineering, but ultimately fragile and short-lived. And so the debates continue, between those who see the Amazon as home to forgotten empires and those who see it as a mosaic of cooperative communities, between those who believe collapse came from within and those who argue it was imposed from without, between those who see connections to global patterns of human evolution and those who see uniqueness rooted in the forest alone. But perhaps the truth lies not in choosing one narrative over the other, but in recognizing that the Amazon's ruins resist simple categories. They remind us that human history is not a straight line from primitive to civilized, but a vast web of experiments, adaptations, and forgotten possibilities. Each geoglyph, each mound, each shard of pottery is a doorway into a past we can only glimpse, and a reminder that the story of prehistoric humans is far stranger, richer, and more mysterious than we were taught. And this brings us to a deeper reflection. What do these Amazonian ruins mean for us today? If entire civilizations could rise, thrive, and vanish beneath the jungle without leaving a trace, what does that say about our own future? What lessons can we learn about resilience, sustainability, and the fragility of human achievement? That is where we turn next, toward the reflections and lessons hidden in the ruins.
What do ancient ruins in the Amazon have to do with us today? Modern people surrounded by technology, skyscrapers, and global cities. At first glance, the connection seems remote. Yet, when we look deeper, these forgotten civilizations whisper lessons that are more urgent than ever. The first lesson is about adaptation. For centuries, the Amazon was considered too hostile for large populations, and yet prehistoric humans proved otherwise. By inventing terra preta, they created abundance where nature seemed barren. By shaping forests into orchards, they turned wilderness into gardens. By carving geoglyphs and roads, they imposed order on a chaotic land without destroying it. These societies remind us that human survival is not simply about conquering nature, it is about learning to collaborate with it. This is a lesson we desperately need today. In our age of climate crisis, deforestation, and ecological collapse, the ancient Amazonians show us that another way is possible. They practice what we now call sustainability, long before the word existed. Instead of exhausting their soils, they enriched them. Instead of erasing the forest, they reshaped it into a living partner. Their ruins are not just relics of the past, they are blueprints for a future where humanity survives not by domination, but by symbiosis. The second lesson is about fragility. Even with their ingenuity, Amazonian civilizations disappeared. Whether from environmental shifts, internal pressures, or the devastating arrival of European diseases, their world collapsed. Cities dissolved into silence, and their memory nearly vanished. For us, this is a sobering reminder. No matter how advanced a society may seem, collapse is always a possibility. History is littered with vanished civilizations, the Maya, the Indus Valley, the Khmer Empire, and the Amazon adds its voice to this chorus of caution. In our modern age, we sometimes believe our cities, economies, and technologies make us invincible. But the ruins hidden under jungle roots remind us of our vulnerability. They whisper, what has happened before can happen again. If millions of people could vanish in the Amazon without a trace, could the same happen to us if we ignore the delicate balance between human ambition and natural limits? The third lesson is about memory and humility. For centuries, scholars dismissed the Amazon as empty,
primitive, incapable of sustaining civilization. And yet, they were wrong. The Earth held secrets that science was too blind or too arrogant to see. What other assumptions might we still hold today? What other truths might collapse under the weight of new evidence tomorrow? These ruins teach us humility. Human history is not complete. We have not discovered every story. We do not fully know who we are, where we came from, or what we are capable of. Every LiDAR scan, every shard of pottery, every mound unearthed is a reminder that the book of human evolution still has missing chapters. And perhaps, just perhaps, our modern civilization will one day be another chapter that future archaeologists puzzle over. The fourth lesson is about perspective. Think of this. Entire civilizations flourished in the Amazon, but because they built with earth and wood instead of stone, history nearly forgot them. Our textbooks focused on pyramids, temples, and empires of stone. But what about the civilizations that left no enduring monuments? Do they matter less? Or do they remind us that human greatness is not only measured in stone, steel, or skyscrapers, but in the ability to live well in balance with the world around us? This perspective forces us to expand our definition of civilization. It is not only about grand cities or monumental architecture. Civilization is also about knowledge, about how to thrive in environments where survival seems impossible. The Amazonians were not less advanced than the Egyptians or the Romans. They were advanced in ways that our modern world is only beginning to rediscover. Finally, the ruins teach us about resilience and rebirth. Though their societies collapsed, their legacy endures. In the soil, in the trees, in the cultural memory of indigenous peoples who still live in the Amazon today. The descendants of those ancient builders still carry traditions of forest knowledge, medicinal plants, and sacred stories. They are the living link between past and present, guardians of a wisdom our modern world cannot afford to lose. Perhaps the greatest reflection is this: history is not a straight line of progress. It is a circle, a spiral, a pattern that repeats. The Amazon shows us that civilizations rise and fall, that knowledge can be lost and rediscovered, that the forest can both nurture and reclaim. And it asks us to reflect. What pattern are we creating now? Will our cities one day vanish like theirs, leaving only faint traces beneath the soil? Or can we learn from their example and forge a future that does not collapse, but endures? Close your eyes and imagine thousands of years from now, archaeologists digging through the ruins of our own world. What will they find? Towers of steel swallowed by vines, plastic fossils in the earth, fragments of digital devices no longer understood? Will they wonder, as we do now, how could such a vast civilization disappear? The ruins of the Amazon are not only about the past. They are a mirror, showing us both our brilliance and our vulnerability. They challenge us to ask, will we too become a lost civilization? Or will we be the first to learn from history and break the cycle?
The story of the Amazon's ancient ruins is not just an archaeological mystery, it is a revelation. Beneath the green veil of one of Earth's wildest landscapes lies proof that prehistoric humans were far more adaptable, creative, and resilient than we once believed. What we thought was an untouched wilderness turns out to be, in many ways, a cultural artifact, a living legacy shaped by lost civilizations. We began with a question: what do the ruins of the Amazon reveal about human history? The answer is profound. They reveal that the boundaries we place on civilization, fertile soil, stone monuments, written records, are far too narrow. They reveal that humanity's story is not confined to a few river valleys or empires, but stretches into the very heart of the rainforest. They reveal that even in environments we once called hostile, humans found ways not only to survive, but to thrive. And yet, the silence of these ruins reminds us of fragility. Whole societies once filled these forests with life, and now they are gone, swallowed by time, disease, and jungle. Their disappearance is both a cautionary tale and a mystery still unfolding. Were they organized states, decentralized networks, or something beyond our current categories? Did they collapse before Europeans arrived or vanish only after? How many more civilizations may lie hidden, waiting to be rediscovered? What we do know is this: the Amazon is not just a forest, it is a library, its pages written in earthworks, soils, and trees. Every LiDAR scan, every excavation is like turning a page in a book we thought was lost. And with each discovery, our understanding of human evolution grows richer, stranger, and more humbling. But perhaps the most haunting revelation is what these ruins say about us. If millions of people could live, flourish, and then vanish without a trace, what does that mean for our own future? Are we building monuments that will endure, or are we too shaping a legacy that may disappear into silence? The ruins whisper. Progress is not guaranteed, and permanence is an illusion. Civilization is a fragile dance with nature, one misstep away from collapse. But they also whisper of hope, that survival is possible in even the harshest environments, that partnership with nature can create abundance, that wisdom often lies not in conquering, but in listening. So we end with a question, one I invite you to ponder and to share your thoughts in the comments below. If entire civilizations could rise and vanish beneath the Amazon, do we truly know everything about our ancestors, or are we still only scratching the surface of a much deeper, older human story? Thank you for joining this journey into the forgotten past. If this exploration stirred your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. The story of humanity is far from complete, and together, we'll keep uncovering the mysteries hidden in time. Our next journey awaits. Will you walk with us into the unknown?